Welcome to ZoomInData. In this session, we're focusing on Azure Data Factory logging and alerts, essential tools for monitoring your pipelines, understanding what went wrong during executions, diagnosing failures quickly, and setting up proactive notifications so you can respond before issues impact your data workflows. Let's explore how these features work and how to implement them effectively. Logging and monitoring in Azure Data Factory start with the built-in capabilities right in ADF Studio's Monitor Hub, where you can track pipeline runs, see activity statuses, and review trigger executions in real time. Diagnostic logs are sent to Azure Monitor for deeper analysis. Metrics provide insights into performance and health, such as failure counts, run durations, and integration runtime usage. You can set up alerts to get proactive notifications, and Log Analytics lets you query the data and build visualizations for better insights. Why do logging and alerts matter so much? They allow you to detect failures and performance issues early before they become major problems. They support detailed root cause analysis during debugging. They help meet compliance and audit requirements by providing traceable records. Proactive alerts reduce downtime by notifying you immediately. You can also optimize resource usage, like scaling integration runtimes based on patterns, and perform historical analysis for trend reporting and improvements. Diagnostic settings are the foundation. They let you send logs and metrics from ADF to various destinations like Log Analytics Workspace, Azure Storage, or Event Hub. There are two modes: Azure Diagnostics, which is the legacy table-based approach, and Resource-Specific, which is recommended as it sends data to dedicated tables for easier querying. You can select specific categories such as pipeline runs, activity runs, and trigger runs, plus all metrics for performance data. These settings are enabled individually per data factory resource. Enabling diagnostic settings is simple. In your data factory, go to the Monitoring section, select Diagnostic Settings, and click Add Diagnostic Setting. Give it a clear name. Choose Resource-Specific mode for better organization. Select the log categories you need along with all metrics, and direct the data to a Log Analytics workspace. You can also optionally send to a storage account or Event Hub. After saving, verify the data starts appearing in Log Analytics by running a quick query. The key log categories include ADF pipeline run for overall pipeline status, duration, and parameters, ADF activity run for granular activity details, error messages, and durations, ADF trigger run for trigger executions and any failures, ADF integration runtime logs for integration runtime node health, CPU, and memory usage, and specific ADF SSIS tables if you're using SSIS integration runtime and packages. In legacy mode, everything falls into Azure Diagnostics, but Resource-Specific gives cleaner, dedicated tables. Pipeline logs in ADF pipeline run capture success or failed status, start and end times, and high-level errors. Activity runs provide input and output details, specific error messages, and retry attempts for each step. Trigger runs cover scheduled, tumbling window, or manual triggers and their outcomes. You can filter these logs by run ID, pipeline name, or status. For example, a simple KQL query like ADF pipeline run where status equals failed to quickly find problems. Integration runtime logs track CPU, memory, and queue usage metrics, node counts, and stop events. For self-hosted IR, you'll see heartbeat signals and connector-specific errors. Azure IR logs include auto-scaling details. Use these to monitor for high utilization that might require scaling or to spot failures in data movement. ADF publishes useful metrics like counts of failed, total, queued, and succeeded pipeline, activity, and trigger runs. Integration runtime metrics include CPU percentage, memory percentage, and queue length. You'll also see entity count and size limits to avoid hitting quotas. For SSIS workloads, package execution metrics are available. Access these in the Azure Portal Overview or Metrics Explorer for graphing and trending. Azure Monitor serves as the central hub, collecting ADF metrics and logs. A log analytics workspace lets you run powerful KQL queries against the data. You can build custom workbooks for reusable dashboards showing pipeline health. Within ADF, use the alerts and metrics blades directly. For advanced reporting, export the data to Power BI. To set up alerts, go to your Data Factory, Monitoring, Alerts, and click New Alert Rule. Set the scope to your Data Factory resource. Define conditions. For example, a metric alert when failed pipeline runs is greater than 0, or a log search for specific error patterns. Configure actions like email, SMS, logic app triggers, or webhooks. Choose severity levels and whether auto-resolution applies. Test the alert and enable it to start receiving notifications. Azure Monitor supports metric alerts for simple thresholds like failed runs or high IR usage, log search alerts for complex KQL-based conditions, and activity log alerts for configuration changes or admin actions. Best practices include starting with a basic failed pipeline runs alert, using dynamic thresholds for adaptive detection, avoiding alert fatigue by prioritizing critical conditions, and using action groups to notify the right teams via email or Teams. In log analytics, use KQL queries like filtering failed activities over the last 24 hours or aggregating average duration by pipeline name. Create workbooks to visualize pipeline success rates, integration runtime utilization trends, and allow drill down into specific runs. These workbooks are shareable and reusable across your team for consistent monitoring. For near real-time monitoring, configure diagnostic settings to send events to Event Grid. Subscribe to Pipeline Run or Activity Run events to trigger logic apps or Azure functions instantly, ideal for critical alerts with minimal latency. You can still combine this with log analytics for long-term storage and querying. For troubleshooting, start in the ADF Monitor Hub to view error details and rerun failed activities. Dive into logs filtered by run ID to examine stack traces. Check metrics to spot bottlenecks like high queue lengths or IR CPU spikes. Common issues include connectivity problems, timeouts, or authentication failures. Use pipeline debug mode to test changes without full runs. Best practices include enabling resource-specific diagnostic mode for cleaner data, setting alerts on failed runs and high integration runtime usage, combining log analytics with custom workbooks for visibility, managing retention policies to control costs, integrating with ITSM tools like ServiceNow for ticketing, and regularly testing your alerts to ensure they fire correctly. Common real-world scenarios include alerting when pipeline failures exceed 5 in an hour, monitoring integration runtime queue buildup to trigger auto-scaling, querying for slow activities that take more than 10 minutes, auditing trigger misfires that skip scheduled runs, and building a dashboard showing daily pipeline success rates for quick health checks. Here are some common conceptual interview questions on ADF logging and alerts. What diagnostic modes are available in Azure Data Factory, and why is resource-specific generally preferred? Name the key log tables like ADF Pipeline Run and ADF Activity Run and what they capture. How would you set up alerts specifically for failed pipeline runs? Now for scenario-based questions. A pipeline fails intermittently. How would you investigate using logs and monitoring? You notice high failed runs overnight. How do you set up an alert and automated response? Integration runtime queue length exceeds 100. What immediate actions would you take? You need a daily failure report emailed to the team. What's the best approach? A pipeline is running slower than expected. Walk through the logs and metrics steps to troubleshoot. And for compliance requiring 90-day log retention, how would you configure it? That concludes our session on Azure Data Factory logging and alerts. Thank you very much for watching. If this helped you understand how to monitor pipelines, set up effective alerts, and troubleshoot issues faster, please subscribe to ZoomInData for more Azure Data Factory and data engineering content. Like the video if you found it useful, leave any questions or suggestions in the comments, and share it with your team or network. Thanks again. See you in the next video.